As always, donate to Jumpstart. Jumpstart helps economically disadvantaged kids play team sports, which is something that's near and dear to Rachel and I's hearts. So if you go to the links in this description below, pretty much all the information that you will need to donate is there. So we really encourage you, if you can, to do so. Again, it's a great cause. We love Jumpstart. They are our charity of choice. If you can, please donate. So 3, 2, 1. Should I have clapped as well?
No, it's fine.
Okay, we're gonna leave.
Is that how we're starting?
We're leaving that in. Rachel, let me get my phone out here. Actually, Rachel. So there's a thing on YouTube. There's a rule on YouTube where, by the way, if you can't tell on video, Rachel is in a different city, and yet I'm in her condo. I can do literally anything in here. And she can't stop me.
Mike can grocery shop at my condo if he wants.
I'm gonna take a peruse down the produce aisle, maybe the pantry aisle. We'll see how it goes. Steal all of Rachel's expensive skincare stuff. It'll be great. But I'm gonna start a timer, Rachel, because there is a rule on YouTube, and I know we're already a little bit in, but I'm gonna start a timer because in order to not get demonetized, you're not allowed to swear after 1 minute into a YouTube video. Like after 1 minute, you can kind of go crazy, but in the first minute of a YouTube video, you're not allowed to swear. So I just set a timer for 1 minute, keeping that going.
You know it's gonna beep really loudly. And
I do.
Connor's gonna kill us, right?
I do. So we're gonna keep podcasting. Rachel, how are things?
Things are good. I am, like you said, not at my condo right now, but you are. It's very cold where I am. Bayern Munich lost, so how do you think I'm doing?
You're doing a lot better than I thought you'd be. That's for sure.
Only because boyfriend is, first of all, he came in, imagine this, we're still in a relationship, but I'm watching this game on my German channel. He comes in from work and just throws in, Mike knows how I watch sports, but particularly Bayern, it's a very serious situation. He comes in, throws all the lights on, and is like dancing around the apartment, and I'm like, okay.
Get out of here.
Like, what is going on?
Oh, the timer went off. So now that we're over a minute in the podcast, let me just say, Bell, let's talk.
Correct.
Just wanted to say that, just so we didn't get demonetized. But yes.
But not for the kids. It's important to donate to mental health initiatives, but just the reason that Bell had to pivot from...
It's so funny.
Bell, let's talk about mental health to youth mental health is because everyone called them out for doing this and using it as a tax break only to fire half of their staff like a week later. It's just, it just doesn't look that great when you do that. And not even it doesn't look that great. Don't do that.
Maybe don't do that.
Don't treat your employees that way.
Exactly. Just wanted to make sure we got that in there. But yeah, so you're doing a lot better than I thought you'd be after a Bayern loss.
Aren't you proud of me?
I'm very proud of you. I am.
Round of applause for me. All right.
But however, you're also handling the Bayern loss a lot better than most of Western Canada is handling hockey these days. Specifically when it comes to...
What's happening in Western Canada?
So Connor McDavid, we've talked about this ad nauseum, both when we were working for another terrible company together, both when we were doing podcasts independently, both when we were, all that kind of stuff. We've been talking about this has been something that's happened basically all of Connor McDavid's life in the sense that refs are not protecting him.
They're not doing their job.
We saw in the NFL this week that the top players, specifically Patrick Mahomes, the refs will, basically get down on their knees and suck and fuck him, if you will. But
I cannot believe you just said that.
But
goodness,
they will not do that for Connor McDavid. And so obviously they missed a holding call on him. He got a little mad, cross-checked Connor Garland in the face. Connor Garland, going back and forth. And then Tyler Myers comes in. So both McDavid and Tyler Myers get 3 games. There's been all this stuff that's been going on because 3 games it's a lot, especially because McDavid's never been suspended before. Matthews did relatively the same thing to Rasmus Dahlin, and he got 2 games for that, which just goes to show there's literally no consistency in the Department of Player Safety.
I'm honestly shocked that Myers and McDavid got the same amount of games because, I mean, let's face it, like Carson Soucy in a previous game between the Oilers and the Canucks got 1 game for cross-checking a guy after the whistle in the face, and it's like, okay, same teams, same play, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, what? Hey, what are we doing?
It makes literally no sense, and like, so it just boggles my mind in that regard. But what mainly like remember when Matthews got suspended? He got suspended 2 games. It wasn't great, but they took it. When Morgan Riley last year did a cross-checking thing, got suspended 5 games for it.
That was so ridiculous too. Like,
and there was
Morgan,
all that.
What are you doing?
And everyone was like, you know what? You cross-check someone in the face. You can't do that. You know, like whatever. Edmonton, though, specifically the Oilers as an organization, fan base, media, and all that are losing their freaking minds over this.
Okay, so this is kind of where I stand on it. I'm seeing a lot of people say, well, even if the ref put his arm up to call a penalty, the Oilers had the puck the whole time, and it wouldn't have been called anyways. Excuse me, tell me you know nothing about how hockey works. The moment that referee's arm goes up in the air, the Oilers are passing the puck to the Canucks to get the power play. So
they're chipping it in. They're doing whatever.
Of course the Oilers kept the puck the whole time because there was no penalty being called, even though Connor Garland turned into like L'Jarius Sneed trying to tackle Saquon Barkley. Like, I don't understand this
That's
nonsense.
a very, very niche pull there. L'Jarius Sneed? He's on the Titans now.
I know. Don't.
Why was it L'Jarius Sneed?
I know my football, okay?
I know, okay.
But this is the thing. No one is saying that McDavid and Matthews and McKinnon and McCarr and Hughes need the Patrick Mahomes treatment. That, I think, is a little aggressive. But I think everyone is well within their right to say, hey, if it would be a holding penalty in the National Football League, it ought to be a holding penalty in the National Hockey League. And I ran a little bit of an experiment that I didn't tell you about.
Oh, right. I love it.
I had my cousin. I sent her. I said, I want you to watch these 3 games. So I just had her watch 3 hockey games. I had her watch 2 Oilers games and a Leafs game. And I was just like, I just want you to, like, give me your thoughts on the play. Like, do you enjoy it? She doesn't watch sports. Like, she's not a big sports person. She does a lot of dance. So I'm like, okay. I asked her, I'm like, can you just do this for me? Like, I'll pay you. It's fine, whatever. And so she watches, and she comes away with 34, 16, and 88 on Toronto are super fun to watch, and 97 and 29 on Edmonton are super fun to watch. And I'm like, okay, so we've grasped that they're the superstars only watching like 1 or 2 games. That's great. And she goes, I asked her, I said, what did you notice? Like, what are some things you liked, you didn't like? And she goes, how come when those guys seem to have the puck a lot and people do things to them, they're not called penalties, but when they do them to other guys, they're called penalties? And I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go with this. I go, what do you mean? And she goes, well, it seems like when it happens to another player, it doesn't happen as much, and so they call it all the time. But I feel like she actually she mentioned Mitch Marner, not even McDavid or Draisaitl. She mentioned Mitch Marner, and she was like, he was getting, like, chopped, and I saw a slashing penalty that was called earlier in the game, so I think that that's slashing. Like, why isn't it called on him? And then she did not know what interference was, so I was explaining interference to her. And she was like, okay, like, I don't really understand that. And I was like, all right, like, that's fine. And she goes, but what I notice is they just grab them a lot more than any other player, and I feel like is it not a penalty because it happens to them more often, or how does that work? And I'm like, the fact that I have to explain to somebody who may or may not become a hockey fan that no, it's actually the same rule book and they just don't apply it equally is bad for the league.
Absolutely.
Like, bad for the league.
It is bad for, listen, like, there is, we don't live in a world of black and whites, right? Like, there's obviously middle ground in most of the most things. And what the main thing that I've been seeing is this argument. It's like, well, what do you want? Like, you want the refs to treat treat McDavid like Mahomes, where he just gets every call? And I'm like, no, like it's an irresponsible argument.
We're asking you to call the obvious things.
Exactly. And like, listen, if you're a superstar in the league, like there's money involved here. Like it stinks, but like you have to favor the superstars more than
I have a conspiracy theory,
the world.
Mike.
Okay, what is it? I love conspiracy theories. What is it?
Okay, where are the Oilers' next 3 games?
I don't know, actually. Tell me.
They're at home. Do you think that if the Edmonton Oilers were on an Eastern Conference road swing where they only go see teams once a year and fans are paying thousands of dollars to see Connor McDavid, that he would have been slapped with a 3-game suspension?
That's a really good point. Is it only just 3 games that they're at home? And then they go on the road?
3 games, and then miraculously they go on the road.
Who do they play? Do you know who they play right after that 3-game homestand ends? Like, who does McDavid play in his first game back? I can look that up.
Seattle.
Okay.
He plays Seattle.
If it was like New York or he was coming to Toronto or something, like then I'd be like, all right, there's like legitimately like there's no way we can refute that. Like it's Seattle, maybe it's a new market.
Do you think if they were playing, let's say that they left Vancouver and they were like, you know what, actually you are now going to play the New York Rangers, the New Jersey Devils, and the New York Islanders. Do you think the league is suspending him for the game against the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden? I think not.
No. They would they would let him play while they like they'd be like, we need an in-person hearing, so we're going to let him play, and then they'd slap him with like a 2-game suspension where he misses the Islanders and the Devils. But they would make sure that Connor McDavid's at MSG for sure.
And the thing is like, I'm not even tinfoil hatting, but I have a really hard time believing that they would suspend him if he were playing at Eastern Conference, like in the Eastern Conference, as opposed to just like against Washington, against, I believe, Buffalo and Vancouver, strategically suspended against the Canucks. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like, no one's saying that star players deserve special treatment. We're saying proportionally, they should draw more penalties. Like, the fact that McDavid doesn't draw the most penalties in the league every single year is outrageous. There are at least 6 or 7 committed against him every single night, and he maybe draws 1. Like, and this is the thing, is, okay, if, I don't know, Connor Garland we'll go with. Connor Garland is not as good at hockey as Connor McDavid is. I feel like that's not really a hot take. Connor Garland is not going to have as many infractions committed against him as Connor McDavid is over the course of a game.
That's a fair assumption.
All we're saying is if it's a penalty on the 4th liner, even though it doesn't happen that often, then it's a penalty on McDavid every single time too. Just because the guy might draw 5 or 6 penalties a night doesn't mean that they're not penalties. And that is the issue.
You know what stinks? It's that Corey Perry said the same thing, and you made me have to say I agree with Corey Perry.
Who scored while nachos were on the ice?
Yeah, which is phenomenal.
Tuesday night.
Love that. Is there anything nachos can't do? Like, nachos will enrich your life. But here's the main thing I want to talk about, though. It's the suspension comes down, and so we have a lot of speculation. People saying, if I was Connor, I would anytime the league asked me to do something promotional wise, whatever. Because keep in mind, Connor McDavid volunteered to be a big focal point of the Face Off documentary on Amazon. It was a big deal.
The Four Nations promotion.
He's been in the Four Nations promotion. He does a lot of advertisements, and he serves as the face of the league. Is he a good face of the league? Probably not, but he still serves as the face of the league. And so a lot of people were like, "Oh, next time McDavid has to do something for the league, he's just saying no." And so the Oilers come out with a statement, and I would love to play a game with you, Rachel.
Oh my God, I can't wait! What is this game?
And the game is called. It's another edition of Imagine If the Leafs Did This. Not to make everything about the Leafs, but I'm seeing these Edmonton reporters and Edmonton.
Do you remember when the Rangers
fans.
did this?
Absolutely, I do. That led to their GM and their president leaving. them doing that.
It also led to like Tom Wilson being able to literally abuse the Rangers and never draw a suspension.
Yeah.
Like
Tom Wilson could like decapitate Artemi Panarin and put his head on a spike at center ice, and the rest would just make everyone play around it at this point. And but think about Jeff Gordon and John Davidson. Like they left the team after that happened.
Yeah, they were like
it was a big deal. So, but what I'm finding is there's a lot of like all of Oilers media. I just picture as they're all boomers who say "suck it up." You know, everyone's crying. Everyone out east is soft. Blah blah blah. Your guy cross checks a guy in the face and gets suspended 3 games.
And it's a fair suspension.
Exactly.
Full stop.
Like, listen, I get it. He was driven to the point where that had to happen. That's on the officiating for missing that, 100%. Believe me, you will never see me defend officials. Like
but you can't cross-check somebody in the face. Like you can't.
You cannot do that. They put out a statement saying how disappointed they are in it. And all these Oilers media members are like, oh, yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, Bob Stauffer is going back through, like, old Department of Player Safety tweets and, like, retweeting suspensions that were smaller for things that were the same thing. Like he's going nuts.
So, speaking of the media.
Okay.
I generally, if I get, like, one text about something that happens, like, I would not be like, oh, yeah, this totally happened. When I got 4 texts from people on both sides, I'm like, okay, this definitely happened. And then I reached out to somebody who would have, in theory, been involved in what I'm about to say. I'm like, okay, yeah, this happened, because they confirmed it. The Canucks were so mad about how the Oilers Sportsnet media was discussing the Connor McDavid suspension. I don't know who at Sportsnet they were annoyed at, but the Canucks PR department called Sportsnet to tell the Oilers media to dial it down. Your team is a goddamn tire fire right now. You have your top 6 centers who won't even be on speaking terms, and you're worried about the Edmonton Oilers media? Do you not have more important things to be doing?
Again.
Like,
I would love to play a game called Imagine If the Leafs Did This. Like, I hate to make things about the Leafs, but we have to with this case, because that's the first thing I thought of. If think about it, Morgan Riley got suspended for 5 games for crushing a guy in the face.
Yeah, if the Leafs put out a statement being like, we are disappointed in the Morgan Riley, or even honestly, when Austin Matthews got suspended for cross-checking Rasmus Dahlin in the head.
No, that was at the Centennial Classic. It was on national television. I was there. I was covering it. Like, no statement, no press conference, nothing. Now, I do know that Brad Treliving was intending to do a press conference about the Morgan Riley suspension, but the league shut that down.
Interesting.
So, interesting there. Let me tell you, if the Leafs put out a statement after, let's say Matthews or Riley, whatever, got suspended for crushing a guy in the face, the amount of that team would take from Western Canada, from Edmonton specifically,
and Vancouver,
Vancouver, you would not be able to hear the end of it. If the Leafs, if their PR department called Sportsnet to say, hey man, dial it back because you're being a little too mean to us right now, and that got out.
Call another team
call another team and tell them to dial it down. Yeah. That, like, the amount of that they would take from Western Canada about that, you would never hear the end of it. This is such a double standard, and I'm just going to say it, like, listen, Edmonton and I, we've never been on good terms. I don't think, I don't think either of us love the media there. Their whole team is filled with criminals, alleged criminals, but, it's like they like to collect. They like to collect felons like Infinity Stones. Like it's crazy. But this is the biggest move I have ever seen. Like, this is the biggest, like, wimpy, just like such, like, I don't want to use a manosphere quote unquote term, but like, this is the biggest beta move I could possibly see someone doing. You're mad that you're upset because the other teams are a little too mean for you? A little too mean?
you have two teams involved here, the Canucks and the Oilers, and both of them are acting like children. The Oilers, with their statement, was insane. Be disappointed, keep that nonsense to yourself. The Canucks PR department calling Sportsnet to tell the Oilers reporters to calm down is such baby soft. Like,
and also like the
again,
Canucks,
your team is a tire fire right now, and maybe you should focus on that instead.
the Canucks are on the Titanic as it's sinking. And they're trying to find like the food, and they're trying to find the food critic that like said that their signature dish was not too great at dinner the night before. Like it's like you have there are different priorities, man. Your whole organization is sinking. Like your two highest paid players, the two guys.
Should we get into that briefly?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're gonna be brief on this because next week we're gonna be talking about it a lot. So this is what I'm gonna say about this. Obviously, I've worked with both players. I saw this firsthand, had to deal with it firsthand. Have talked to players about it. Like I've seen it with my own eyes. Mike, when you're at work, let's say you have a disagreement with a colleague. Let's say that you are on opposite sides of something.
Listen.
How the fridge should be organized in the break room.
Let me say this: the accounting department. I like pretty much all the accounting department. However, the head of accounts payable, him and I, we don't get along, and so no one really gets along. I'll be honest.
Solid.
Actually, but I respect
there's
him.
nothing heinous involved.
No, it's just
and you respect him.
It's procedural. That's what I mean. It's not that we don't get along personally. It's that we don't get along procedurally. Because I'm always trying to get something paid out, and accounts payable has to scrutinize everything. But so it's annoying. But we respect each other. We nod. We say hi. In the hallways. If we're in line, if we're both getting coffee, I say after you, good sir. All that kind of stuff. It's fine. Civil, normal. You're in a workplace.
You have disagreements, but it's not so apoplectic that you can't get work done.
Well, it's also like I have disagreements, but I don't hate him as a person.
Right, it's not personal. There are certain disagreements that you can move on and work together. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'll say. The situation between Miller and Pettersson is not one of those.
Yeah.
Because if it was, do you think it would have been going on for 5 years?
I'm shocked
Probably
that they've been
not.
able. I'm shocked that they've been able to accomplish this much, given what's been happening. Like I'm shocked.
So there's always been
Yeah.
up until this year. There's always been buffers in the room. Bo was in the room. Luke Shen was in the room. Ian Cole last year, once Bo and Shen were gone, was in the room. There's always been buffers between the two players to kind of like mellow things out. But now
Chris
you can
Tanev
tell.
probably played a big part in
Tanev
that.
was massive for this. Rick Tocchet is clearly tired of it. Miller and Pettersson are clearly tired of it. Quinn Hughes looks like he's tired of it. There's a couple other players that are very clearly tired of it.
Quinn Hughes looks like he's tired all the time, though. We have to point that out.
Basically, this is the best analogy I can give, and then we're gonna dive into this like more next week.
We are.
JT Miller is the Regina George, from Mean Girls of the Canucks locker room. He is the Regina George. If you don't know who Regina George is, watch Mean Girls and everything will make a lot of sense, because that is just how things work. And that's not even like the only thing going on with the Canucks right now. Like Jake DeBrusk's stalker.
So should we talk about that?
I feel like we should talk about this in a societal context, because like professional athletes aren't the only people who have stalkers and aren't the only people who are subject to harassment. So
but this
situation is crazy.
This young lady is particularly like it. All right. How about you? I'm gonna bring up my prep on this. You get it started, Rachel, because this is like genuinely, I would be terrified if I was Jake DeBrusk and his family.
Yeah, exactly. So Jake DeBrusk used to play for the Boston Bruins. And while he was playing for the Bruins, there was this fan, this woman who is around his age, who basically like fell in love with him, and started showing up to every single event imaginable, started like following him, just really odd behavior, and the Bruins had to ban her from the rink. And rightfully so, good on the Boston Bruins for doing that. That's the type of thing you need to do to protect your players. And then DeBrusk signed with the Vancouver Canucks. Mm-hmm. And when he signed with the Canucks, he moved out there with his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he's got a girlfriend.
Yeah, got a girlfriend, long-term relationship. And she moved. She picked up from Boston and moved out west. It's unlikely she has a Canadian visa based on this, but Seattle is literally 10 minutes. Like, Farhan Lalji lives in the Seattle area and covers the Canucks. Like, he just drives over the border type of situation, I'm pretty sure. It's very close. So she just, like, picked up and moved across the United States of America.
It's not close. Boston and Vancouver are not close. That's a long move.
It's a 6-hour flight, guys. Like, it's a lot. So DeBrusk tells the Canucks about this, as he should, and the Canucks take the step of banning her from home games. Probably, like, the first thing they've done to take care of anyone in their organization in God knows how long, but alas. So, great job. She's banned from Canucks home games. She's sad, is tweeting about it. Then she tries to go to the Canucks Kraken game a couple of weeks ago.
So let me read these tweets.
And this is where things go real south.
So this is why. So it's basically like, and these are like, there's a lot here. So anyway, it was on January 2nd, like you said. This is her saying, I'm upset because I wasn't allowed to attend the Canucks game in Seattle tonight. I bought a ticket this afternoon. When I got there, my ticket wouldn't scan. I was then sent to the ticket office to explain my situation. A few minutes later, the director of security greeted me and said that the Canucks requested that I do not attend tonight's game. He told me that they saw that I bought a ticket and flagged it. Okay, that happened fast. Jake should see that I love hockey and can't enjoy life without it and without traveling to see him. Them telling the Canucks about me was not right, and he needs to hear... Jake telling the Canucks about me was not right, and he needs to hear that. I want to be at as many Canucks games as possible. I want to know what the women he dates and is friends with have that I don't. I want him to take me on dates because I will actually act professional. And then someone responded, goes, no, there isn't. I can still attend Canucks games if they don't know I am in the city they are in ahead of time. Jake needs to get me allowed back at games and help me get in with the media this season. If I tell Jake that I'm working on my mental health, will he be okay with seeing me again? I at least want to attend games again. I want to work in the media for the Canucks. I want to work on getting into medical school. I know these things will happen if I stop some of my quirks. This is someone this is like I don't want people to think that I don't want people to think that we're joking about this. Like, this is someone that is genuinely unwell.
Yeah.
And someone that I really, really hope gets like the help that they need, because this is really scary. Like, this is like reading those, this is terrifying.
Well, okay, so a stalker of any kind, like when you get to the point of stalking, you're past harassment at that point, right? You can harass somebody, and then there's stalking, and this is very clearly that, and that can become very dangerous. Generally speaking, you hear about it more on the reverse. Like, you hear more about men stalking women than you do about women stalking men. But this is outrageous behavior. She clearly needs help. But it's one of those things where it's like, dude, like, it's also delusional behavior. Like, number one, help you get in with the media? Like, that's not how that works at all. Unless you're the AGM of the team, then maybe. But, like, that's not how that works at all. Jake has a protective order against you. So does his girlfriend. His girlfriend had to basically delete all her social media or go, like, super private on it because of this girl. And this is one of those situations where I'm not I don't know what world she's in, but she's there all on her own, and it puts Jake in a bad spot. It puts his poor girlfriend in a really weird spot. And also, like, I want to be in the Canucks media, but also I want to go to medical school. Like,
But
do
like,
you
I want to
know
be
how
in,
busy you are in medical school?
but like, I want to be in media. And then it says like, if I tell him I'm working on my mental health, do you think you like, I'm sure
No.
I'm sure he'll be happy to know that you're doing better, but like, it's not another thing too is apparently in February of 2023, like she DM'd him, so DeBrusk, his girlfriend, and DeBrusk's sister, and threatened to end her own life if they didn't give her attention. Like it's like that is that in itself right there. And listen, we're very sympathetic to someone going through mental issues, but that is abuse towards
That
Jake
is
DeBrusk.
manipulation.
That's mental abuse.
Yeah, that is textbook. Like when you see, and obviously they're not in a relationship, but like when you see in people who are actually in relationships and it's going south, and you see someone be like, "Well, if you break up with me, I'm gonna kill myself, or I'm gonna go on a hunger
That's
strike."
abuse. That's abuse.
That is manipulation and emotional abuse, and it like to a T.
Using
That's textbook.
using your life, like bartering, like basically using your life as a threat, or like as like a bartering chip to get someone to do something for you. Like if let's say I wasn't feeling, if let's say I was like not feeling great today, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to do a podcast today, and you're like, no, we have to, and I'm like, well, Rachel, I'll kill myself if we have to do this podcast. Like that's
whoa,
not
okay.
That's not necessarily putting you in a very fair situation. That's not like that is abuse, because then what are you going to say? Die? Like, no, you're not going to say that. You're like, it's not.
It's super manipulative. It's you need to learn. I think the biggest thing is like being able to recognize the signs of this behavior is really important. And I get it. Twitter specifically is a cesspool.
Yes.
We've got people defending Nazi salutes and all manner of things, and honestly it kind of feels like it's just not reality anymore. But like, you need to be able to recognize certain behaviors and certain signals that are manipulation, that are abuse, that are harassment, because it's dangerous. It's one thing if you're replying to somebody, like you've seen my mentions. Like, it's one thing to be consistently replying to someone. It is an entirely other thing to be showing up at that person's place of work, or showing up where that person lives, or moving across a country to follow them. Like, that's a different level. And when you get to those types of things where you start seeing the person, like I remember when I worked for the New Jersey Devils, Taylor Hall played for the team. And Taylor had just started dating his now wife, Rachel. And they were so cute, and like we saw her whenever she would come down because she was still in university at the time. But there was this woman who was obsessed with Taylor. She would show up to all the charity events. She like bid like $15,000 to go out for dinner with Taylor Hall, and like we had to send security. And she would take pictures with other players, and then Photoshop herself next to Taylor Hall. Or when Taylor would post a picture with a girl, or she would find a picture of Taylor with a woman, she would Photoshop herself into those pictures and then post them on her Instagram. And it's like, that's obviously not as bad as like the DeBrusk situation, but those are signs that, like, that's what I'm talking about. When somebody starts doing that, like, I remember Ray Shiro, like, he got security involved so quickly. He was like, yeah, none of that.
As you should.
And,
If that
good for
happens
him.
if that happens to any employee in any workplace, like you need to go. Like, listen, every girl I know has reply guys. You know, the guys who like everything they post, they basically are talking to themselves in their DMs. You know,
Love
like
those
it's
guys. Yeah.
and you know, like whatever. At that point, it's annoying, it's harmless, whatever. But this is like, here's what I want to know before we move on. I want to know who is in this person's life, because how, like, I think if, you know, like if I saw this behavior, if I saw you talking about moving out somewhere because there's an athlete you really love and you want to be with them, or like any
But
of
they
this
don't
stuff.
know who you are, or they have a restraining order
Yeah.
against me.
Like there's like, who does this person have parents?
Yeah.
Does this person have friends? Probably not. You know, like, and that's what I worry about, is like who is in this person's life?
Supporting this person. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, what support do they have? Because these are actions that, if you have close people close to you in life, they step in. Like, this is, if you have people who are close to you in life, they're able to, not able to, but they come and they say, no, like, we need to get you help, or no, like, you cannot move it here. You know, like, stuff like that. If I were to do this, like, I know I obviously don't have, like, you know, I'm an adult, I'm 28 years old or whatever, but like, if my parents caught wind of this, exactly. Exactly. It's nuts. But like, if I do this and my parents caught whiff of it, like, even though I'm a 28-year-old adult, like, I'm sure they would literally like hire someone to like put me in handcuffs or something, you know, like stuff like
Mike,
that.
I
Like,
would beat you with hammers.
exactly, as you should, So it's like, I worry that this, obviously this can't be, like, this person can't be blameless, because there is a lot of sort of like abusive behavior here, and it's not okay, and borderline criminal, and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like, I look at this and I go, like, this person, and I don't want to make assumptions on anyone's life, but I also am looking at this being like, there's a good chance that this person doesn't have anyone close enough in their life to care, to notice these signs, which is sad. I hope this person gets the help they need.
Yeah. But most importantly, like, understand how to recognize that, and especially, I would say, where we're moving as a society and where we have been over the past couple of years, like, people are getting more emboldened to do stuff like this. And
yes.
So when you see the signs, like, number one, look out for yourself, and like, you can never be too vigilant, but also, like, look out for each other. Right? Like, if Mike saw something happening to me, he would say something about it. Or if I saw somebody, like, making statements about Mike, or doing weird stuff and asking me about Mike, things like that, like, I would give him the heads up. Like, look out for each other, because this is, quite frankly, this is going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. And I hate to say this, because Twitter is a place where you used to be able to meet people and make friends and build community. X is not that. And I would strongly suggest not interacting in the same way that you used to on that platform, because the people that are on that platform now are not great, to put it politely, and we just don't want to see anybody get hurt.
So, you know who else needs help? The Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars. So,
can we throw the Dallas Cowboys in there too?
Yes. However, the Cowboys, it's not as egregious as what Jacksonville is doing.
Jacksonville, yeah, man.
So we got to talk about it. So this is an interesting coaching cycle. You know, like in the NFL. There's there's a couple good names here, you know, like obviously Ben Johnson was the top one, the guy for the Lions, the offense coordinator for the Lions. He got hired by the Bears. I think that's going to be a good fit. All that, whatever.
Aaron Glenn was the defensive coordinator for the Lions. Is now
he's
the
on the Jets.
Mike Vrabel got hired by the Patriots, which everybody saw coming.
Yeah. You know, like even the Raiders hired a new GM, which is good. You hire the GM before you hire the coach, et cetera, et cetera.
Hey, that's a good idea. It's
a great idea.
Jets.
Yep. However, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're a team. They have a talented quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. However, people are starting to wonder what this guy's ceiling is after some very disappointing play. You know, they have interesting pieces, but not really. They were put together by a guy named Trent Baalke. Now, Trent Baalke is the GM. He's been there for a while. He's been there for 4 years.
He managed to put together an offensive line that allowed Trevor Lawrence to get like 3 concussions and be one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league year over year.
So Trent Baalke this was his 4th year there. You know, he came over from San Francisco. And you know, like they do a bunch of great stuff.
Janitor there, like,
No, he was in the front office. So he was like he was highly thought of when he came to Jacksonville. And to be honest,
All right, then.
they made a playoff game and they erased I think what was it, a 27-0, 28-0 lead deficit at half. They came back, so they won a playoff game. That's great. However, they've declined in every other year. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've gone through, because keep in mind, like, I know the owner hires people, but the GM is part of that process as well. And they've gone through so many coaches in those 4 years. And so think about it. This was the Urban Meyer. It started off with Urban Meyer, right? Like, not
that
great.
was a good hire.
Not great. Doug Peterson,
What happened?
he kicked his kicker and was caught skipping a team flight to get like a lap dance, and it didn't go great.
By someone who wasn't his wife.
Yes, exactly. What a lucky lady. And so
really.
I'm saying the lady who's not his wife. Lucky that he's not. You consider yourself lucky you're not married to Urban Meyer.
Could you imagine like going home and be like, "Oh, honey, how was your day? Oh, it was good. Like, I did this, I did that. What did you do? I found you on Twitter getting a lap dance from somebody that wasn't me."
But she stood by
I would
him.
just honestly, I don't even think I'd do that. I would just hand him the divorce papers as he walked in the door. I'd be like, "Nope."
You just have them on hand just in case. Yeah. So this is interesting because they fired Doug Peterson this year after a absolute nightmare season. Everything could have gone wrong. They were terrible. And keep in mind, this was also like Trent Baalke convinced Shad Khan, who is the owner, before the season that this is the best Jaguars team ever assembled. That was said in media multiple times. They went
This
4
is
and
giving
13.
New York Rangers of this year, by the way.
Yes. They went 4 and 13. Now, so they fired Doug Peterson. And you would think you go through basically 3 coaches, especially after Urban Meyer, and you think, okay, like at that point, how many coaches does GM get? They fire Doug Peterson. They don't fire Baalke. They keep him on. And so now all these coaches are starting to interview, and all of them turn down the job. Ben Johnson turns down the job. Aaron Glenn doesn't even want to interview.
Robert Saleh turns the job down.
Exactly. All of them. Because, and they say they don't want to work with Trent Baalke.
And when they fired Peterson, people like Shad Khan and Trent Baalke did a presser, and people outright asked Shad Khan right in front of Trent, like, do you think this is going to impact your ability to get a coach because you kept Trent on? And it's like, the guy he's right there. But I was watching the Jaguars, and obviously, like, the Rangers they won the President's Trophy last year, so a big fall from grace. But, like, you look at what's happening here, and it's like the Jaguars underachieved at every given crossroad they could imagine. They've got guys locked into contracts that maybe shouldn't be, and it kind of feels like the confidence in the GM is not there.
Mm-hmm. And yet, they kept him around. And so after Aaron Glenn took the job with the Jets, turned them down. After Ben Johnson had taken the job with the Bears, turned them down. It was being reported that pretty much every top-line coaching candidate on the market had turned down that job because they did not want to deal with because they knew that because this guy's sticking around, he has the ear of the owner. They would never be able to impart their own will because this guy would always get in the way. Finally, the owner came to his senses, fired Trent Baalke today. And immediately now Robert Saleh is considered the favorite to take that job.
Once again, hire a GM before you hire a coach. Which you could have done if you would have fired Trent Baalke 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but now all of the good candidates are gone. And it's the exact same thing that the Cowboys are doing with Jerry Jones. With Jerry Jones did with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not coach of the Cowboys anymore. They mutually agreed to part ways. His contract was going to be over. Like Jerry had from the end of the season to when he decided that they were going to part ways. Jerry had like over 2 weeks.
Yeah, like what were you doing?
Because you had that coach there, you couldn't request to interview anybody. So you didn't get to interview with you didn't get to interview with Ben Johnson
or Aaron
Glenn
or
or
Mike
anybody.
Vrabel.
Or Mike Vrabel, any of these guys. You for some reason decide to restrict yourself from any of these candidates. And so now you're stuck with, maybe you get Robert Saleh to come in, but who knows how good of a coach he is, because, like, all this happened. Like, who knows?
I, for one, would like the Dallas Cowboys to hire Deion Sanders, and then immediately don't get me wrong, I love the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader situation, but I better be getting a Netflix documentary of Jerry Jones and Coach Prime, because that will be appointment television. I would pay $10,000 to watch that. Like, the rumor is that Coach Prime's going to stay with Colorado.
I think he should.
I agree. First of all, your first job in the National Football League should not be the Dallas Cowboys.
No. You should coach like the Atlanta Falcons or the.
You should coach the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, exactly. Without Trent Baalke there, though.
Yeah, correct. But come on, like, are you not kind of rooting for Deion Sanders just for pure entertainment?
Oh yeah. Like I would love that.
I need it.
I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to hire Cliff Kingsbury. I think they're going to, because Cliff Kingsbury just helped lead, like, he's the offensive coordinator of the Commanders, who just pulled off one of the biggest upsets in NFL playoff history by beating the number 1 seed Detroit Lions at home, and not by a little bit. They thumped those boys.
45 points.
45 points. To be fair, on a team that had like 4th stringers playing because everyone was hurt, but still, I think they're gonna hire Cliff Kingsbury. He's from Texas, and he rehabbed his. But even then, like, that's who you're pinning your sights on. Is a guy who had a below 500 mark as an NFL and college coach, and he's probably changed. Like, he's probably evolved as a coach. We've clearly seen that. Like, he's done a great job with the Commanders' offense. But, like, after 1 year, are you willing to then immeditis say this guy's ready?
Like, it was probably time for McCarthy, but the reality of the situation is, is there a coach out there right now that is better than Mike McCarthy?
I don't think so. At least not.
Probably not.
No. Now, McCarthy,
right? Remember when St. Louis fired Drew Bannister because Jim Montgomery became available? And it's like, Drew Bannister wasn't doing a terrible job. It's just Jim Montgomery is a better coach.
Like, Jim Montgomery's available, you snap him up. And obviously, I feel so bad for Drew Bannister.
Like, I do too. He got the short end of the stick on that one.
Like, that was he really got shivved there. But, like, that's what Doug Armstrong said. It's like, guys like this don't become available very often. So you move heaven and earth to get them. You have to make whatever decisions you have to do to get them, because you're in the business of winning. You're the
You're literally the Cowboys. Like, what are you doing?
What we've established too, Rachel, throughout this like multi-month saga of Jerry Jones, he doesn't care. Like, winning is not his number 1 priority. It's making money, and
then he's going to hire Coach Prime, because that Netflix documentary is going to be worth millions of dollars.
I just don't see that happening.
Man,
I can't.
I want it so badly.
All right, should we finish things up with our lifeline?
What do you got for me? Why am I terrified? We're not doing a who he play for, are we?
No.
All right.
My lifeline is it's a bit of a.
I am absolutely terrified, because Mike never tells me what the lifeline is, and I'm always scared.
So. And by lifeline here, I wanna say that this is basically, because I know you're not very online, right? You're not on like TikTok a lot,
No, I'm not.
So I'm not sure. Did you know did you follow the potential TikTok ban that happened? 14 hours.
So that I followed. Only because I happen to be in the United States, and so that means I can't watch TikTok.
So everyone thought TikTok was getting banned, and this is how. And like, hey man, if you're an influencer, good on you, but some of you guys have heads filled with rocks because oh my god. So the thing about
Just
the TikTok,
absolute rock brains.
Seriously, because a lot of the popular accounts on TikTok, as they were as the app was about to get banned, decided to use this audio, and I'm going to play it now to confess things. So it's a Family Guy clip. So they would go like, since we're all about to die, there's one thing I have to share with you, and they then would admit that basically, so they would then admit something they definitely should not have admitted about their brand. Namely, there were a lot of fitness influencers that would go,
oh no,
that would go, I'm on Ozempic, or I got a BBL. I got a BBL. There were a lot of makeup people who went.
No.
There were a lot of makeup people who went, I actually wiped off some of this foundation before the final product, or I actually, there's this one influencer, and I really fucking hate this one. Or not this one in particular, but I hate this influencer in particular just because, like, she's really annoying, and she's like, she tries to, anyway, I don't want to get into it, but she had this whole thing, like, she would make a million TikToks about how she had this, like she had a boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend that she had to sign an NDA with, and who's a billionaire. She confessed he didn't really exist. She made it up. Stuff like that.
What?
And so, yeah. So
What?
yes. So
What is wrong with people?
So then only for, or like there's this one girl. She's like a relatively thin, like a normal attractive Asian girl who would do these, you know what a mukbang is? It's like basically where you eat a large amount of food.
Yes.
Like, she was like, since we're all going to die, I have one secret to share with you. I don't eat all the food. I edit it to make it look like I eat all the food in my videos. Like, her whole thing was like, was everyone going, how the heck does she eat all that? She did that. So that's that's mainly my lifeline.
For 14 hours, which tells you all you need to know about how stupid some of these people are, because if you actually follow the timeline of this TikTok situation, it's not going to happen. And then you have, on Monday, the CEO of ByteDance sitting next to,
slobbing on Trump's knob, like it's like it,
the potential national security secretary. Like, first of all, I don't think that that's a good idea.
No, I don't think so either.
Here's the thing: is like, they understand, like, they wanted it banned because don't forget, Republicans introduced the bill. Yeah. During President Trump's first presidency. Then the Biden administration followed through on it, which there's like First Amendment nonsense. That's all there. And then because the Biden administration followed through on it, then the Republicans flipped and they were like, actually, we want it banned. And it's like, okay, number one, you need to pick a side because this is ridiculous. But number two, like, this is all about money. Regardless of what side of Democrat, Republican you're, this is about money. All they want is the money and the control. Because if you don't think that Meta and X are not taking the same data that TikTok is, if not more, I have an oceanfront property in fucking Idaho to sell you.
DoorDash takes more, like, the app takes more of your data than TikTok does. Like, it's crazy. And also, and I like to say this all the time, like, and it was actually a joke on Saturday Night Live where it's like, who cares? I don't have anything to hide.
What are you doing?
Like, I think it was, who was it? Michael Longfellow. He was talking about this on Weekend Update. He's just like, what? Like, do you think I care about the government knowing that I like big busty Latinas? Like, I don't care. And I have to share his sentiment, okay? Like, it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to point that out to you because I'm sure you hadn't seen it, is all these influencers who built a brand on this one thing, exposing themselves, and then 14 hours later coming back and going, well, we're screwed. And I think that's very funny.
All I can think about right now is DJ Pauly D going, busted!
Busted! It's hilarious. So on that note, Rachel, though,
that's insane, though. Like, first of all,
I know
it's the internet. Like,
it's there forever. It's not like your. It's not like your account.
How did you not know this? Like, what is happening?
your account didn't just vanish when the app got banned. You just couldn't access it. Like I could go to any American's account and just watch their old videos, like because I'm in Canada. Like,
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I VPN'd into TikTok, like, because
they
I
were
was
saying
looking,
you
and
can't
the thing
do it.
is I wasn't doing it because I wanted to watch TikTok. I had a video saved that I like for cooking that I wanted to use, and then the ban came, and I was like, I need the video, like,
Yeah.
for the instructions, because I googled it and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I was like, you know what, screw it, I know how to do this, so I'm gonna do it. And I used a VPN, and I ended up getting into TikTok, and then literally, I'm not even joking you, Mike, like 4 hours later they unbanned it, and I was like, are
Yeah.
you kidding right now?
Oh,
But
that's so funny.
here's the thing: is it's not banned for anybody else, and the United States has the most amount of people on the app anywhere, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, the way government in general works now is like, you just pay a guy a bribe, and it's fine.
You're just lobby. It's fine.
What do you think is happening? Like,
I know it's crazy. But on that note, I don't want this laptop to die, so we should head out. But we will be back next week with a phenomenal guest that I think you will be very, very excited and happy to see. But until then, take care.